In my opinion, a personal brand should be built second after you've built a business, because it's nothing wrong with being a content creator, but you should not necessarily be labeled as an expert if you've never built something worth talking about. The most important thing that people should not, I mean, this is one of the biggest mistakes that people do, is they try to start a personal brand from scratch without researching. If you're only getting views, but you're not able to convert them into sales, what's the purpose of that time being spent on just, creating content every day without doing anything with it?
You're listening to the Radcast. If it's radical, we cover it. Here's your host, Ryan Alford.
Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to the latest edition of the Radcast. We're talking branding today, branding of a personal nature. We're talking to Marian Esanu. What's up, brother?
What's going on, man? Thanks for having me.
Hey, man. Good to have you. Personal branding ninja. You hit my feed, I'm like, all right, I got to talk to this ninja. I got to be honest. When, I've been doing personal branding for 5 years, marketing for 22. Anytime the ninja kind of goes, ninja anything comes across, I'm like, all right, let me see what we're dealing with here. Skeptical.
Here's another guy.
Another guy. But I was like, all right, I watched your content, checked out your page. I'm like, okay, Marian knows what he's talking about. So
he's not full of crap.
He's not full of shit. So, yeah, man. And it's a topic near and dear to my heart. And I think a lot of people are curious about it. I mean, a lot of people are doing it. A lot of people are faking it. A lot of people are annoyed by it. But I think the term is started to, the personal branding term, I think some people just roll their eyes at, and I've been working for like 6 months, and I'm usually really good with words. Like, I'm a good writer. What's a new way? What else can we call this? Maybe just to give it some fresh legs.
We can call it we can call it a lot of different ways. I mean, we can call it digital persona, digital brand, the digitalization of a person, whatever you want to call it, right? Like, at the end of the day, it's really what people are talking about you when you're not in the room. It's the simplest way to kind of think about it. And yes, it's true in person, but it's also true online. Like, if you are not there, does your content speak for itself in a way that doesn't feel weird, or it doesn't feel like fake, or it does, like you just said, right? A lot of people are faking it until something doesn't even happen sometimes, but
so they don't make it.
Exactly. And then it's also, of course, there are problems, but there are also pros and cons to it.
Yeah. Because
a lot of people don't even think about it this way. Like, in the last 6 years of my kind of business / entrepreneurial journey, I've also bought and sold a few brick and mortar companies. So what people don't realize is, yes, it's cool. It sounds great in theory, yes, to like build your personal brand, hype it up, make it nice. But if your sole business is just your personal brand, it's dangerous. You're in a dangerous spot. One, you'll never be able to exit it. Two, God forbid, something happens, you're not able to create content for a while. Think about a brand as big as Tony Robbins, Brendan Bouchard, right? Like, these huge speakers, huge names. If they are not on the stage, the people that are attending the events, now, I'm not saying that they don't have a business behind that personal brand, but you get the point.
Yeah.
The main topic of it, there are pros and cons of building a personal brand if you're not doing it at the right time.
Yeah.
In my opinion, a personal brand should be built second after you've built a business, because it's nothing wrong with being a content creator, but you should not necessarily be labeled as an expert if you've never built something worth talking about. You can be an enthusiast, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with putting up a YouTube channel and start doing tutorials about how to do X, Y, and Z, but don't necessarily try to position yourself as an expert and try to build your brand around some topics that you're not an expert in. be an enthusiast. And this, I've heard this interview from Gary Vee when a guy was actually trying to ask like this hidden question to like how can he be positioned as an expert when he's not an expert? And that's pretty much the simplest way to look at it. Don't try to be an expert if you're not.
Yeah.
You can become an expert during that time, but you can be an enthusiast during this time that you're building the content hub. Podcasting, if it's Instagram Reels, short form video. But in my opinion, the actual personal brand should be separated from the actual business for a couple different reasons. One, let's assume you plan to exit the actual business. Nobody's going to want to buy a personal brand because it's your name attached to it.
Yep.
Like nobody's going to want to buy your name. And my favorite case study is actually my wife. My wife runs a beauty salon here in Boston. And when COVID hit, of course, the salons were one of the first businesses that were shut down because they were deemed not necessary,
not essential, non-essential,
not essential. Yeah. So I said to her, "All right, you've built this successful 6-figure business from scratch. You have an expertise, you have a skill set. Let's look at what other people are doing it." So we looked online. We saw a lot of different people teaching what she was already doing at that point. She has this eyelash extension salon. So we started doing research. We looked on Google. We saw what companies are running ads against, what type of sales pages they had, what type of products they were selling. We saw a variety of certifications, in-person certification, online certifications. Then we looked on Udemy. Then we, of course, did the research for organic content on YouTube. And then we understood, okay, people are selling online courses about how to do eyelash extensions. And I'm like, this is your thing. And of course, even though she had experience and she had the skill set built, the first thing that came to mind, she was like, "Babe, why would someone buy from me?" And I'm like, well, the reason that someone buy from me, like first things first is that I said to her, you're not selling advice or you're not creating content for yourself now. You're creating content for yourself 4 years ago when you were trying to learn these things. Then you spent almost 20K in just attending workshops, getting yourself certified, going for your license at school and stuff like that. You learn all the ins and outs. And then what was the biggest problem? There was not a lot of business advice around how to build this type of brick and mortar shop. So I said to her, all right, you can even start by just sharing the things that you've learned in the past, and I'll even interview you, because that was the main, like at first it was the whole content creation kind of imposter syndrome, like, I don't know if I'm good enough to talk about this. And then we started posting videos, and then in just like less than a year, her YouTube channel went to like 23,000 subs. The podcast blew up, her Instagram blew up, and then because why? She already built a successful business prior to her building a personal brand. Yes, that imposter syndrome would have probably been forever if she would have not built that prior business and start talking and giving advice. Because when you give advice about something that you don't feel confident and authentic talking about it, it's going to feel weird. It's going to feel unauthentic. It's going to feel fake. And guess what? People will feel it. If you don't believe in what you're selling, if you don't believe in the things that you talk about, why would someone else would?
Yep.
And that's the main reason why a lot of people kind of lack the context of, all right, imposter syndrome versus should I talk about this, should I not, how to be positioned as the expert. Now, I'm not saying that she could have, even during school time or even when she was trying to get certified, she could have still recorded videos showing this is what I learned, this is what I attend, this is how much I paid for these things, but without trying to position herself as, oh, look at me, I'm doing this, this, and that, where actually you're just paying for advice at the same time, right?
Yep.
So she could have been an enthusiast at that point. It's just she was running her previous company and going to school, so didn't even have time to record.
But I think it's so interesting,
time.
The point you're making about, personal. I think there's a lot of misinformation or bad assumptions about why you should or shouldn't build your personal brand. And it's, you know, it's reputation. We all have a reputation, but
100%.
we all have things that we're good at or that we're specialized in. And social media affords this opportunity to amplify all of that reputation. And with that comes benefits, you know,
100%.
because, you know, you're going to like, we all like have cliques or things or people that are naturally drawn to us in life. We move around. If you and I went to a party, we may be cut from the same cloth. Who knows? We're going to attract a certain group of people. Like if you don't know anyone, you're going to talk to people because we all have auras and things that go on. And so what social media does is it just turns turning that amp up on your guitar that you're playing, it turns that noise up, that it just amplifies who you are to attract more of those people. And that brings the benefits of connection that you never know where it's going to lead. More business opportunities, more friends, more just things. And you know, I tell people, you know, I have a personal brand, but I don't want to be famous. You know, like I have no desire to be, you know, like superstar famous. But the more known I am, the more freedom I have. And I say that instead of money, but they all run together. For me, freedom's important, but I get freedom when I have more money. And when the more known I am, the more, you know, business
the more money you make.
The more money you make. But I try to attribute it to the benefit, not, you know, to not make it about, you know, Lambos and, you know, like flaunting money. It's not, I don't give a shit about that. It's just about amplifying reputation to attract more opportunity.
100%. But you also look, right, like in your case, and again, in a lot of different cases as well, you also look at the time that you invest. Like now you're investing time into sitting here and doing this podcast where you could have probably closed some deals or some other stuff. So you value the time and understand the whole aspect of, all right, I'm going to put this time invested into this personal brand, even though I might not get a positive ROI immediately because it's long-term, right? So it's those, I mean, people, and a lot of people don't even understand this.
Yes.
You know, the amount of money that you get paid for consulting or coaching or the amount of money of a deal that you can close on the phone right at this time in 1 hour can be 10, 20, 30 times more, right, than the time that you spend here just doing a podcast.
But play the long game.
A lot of people forget. Yeah, but a lot of people forget that.
Because brand, and that's where when I've thought about, you know, and I'm sure you have, like the name change of personal branding, you can't get rid of the word brand, because I tell people, you know, sales overnight, brand over time. And brand is built. It's just like brand is reputation. Like your reputation is built over time. No one judges you from one day or 1 week, and no one judges a brand for 1 day or 1 week unless it's just a really bad, week. But it's over time, and it's built over time. And the dividends of our relationship here doing this podcast and the content we both can create from it, I know pay bigger dividends than one deal or one other conversation that I could have. And people have a hard time because we're so driven. And the irony of today is that we have these opportunities, greater opportunities than ever, to build brand when you're not a superstar or you're not running TV ads. But then the mindset of, I got to have it now. I got to have it now. I got to have it now. There's a weird, you know, relationship with those things. We have more opportunity than ever to build long-term brand, but we all got to have it now. But you play the long game and you win.
100%.
So talk to me about when this light bulb, let's back up a little bit more. And I want to talk, I mean, how long have you been in the U.S.? Like we talked about a little bit pre-episode. Let's give everybody a little bit of that background.
2013.
Okay, 2013.
Yeah, 2013.
Where'd you grow up?
A little bit of a journey at first. Moved here with my wife. We're both from Romania. So I came here first 2 years, kind of just did a lot of like labor jobs, 7 days a week, 12, 13-hour days, did nothing but work my ass off and just trying to save up some money. Didn't necessarily have, like, I knew I wanted to do something on my own. I didn't know, I knew from the first week that I came that I want to spend my life here. Like, I knew I wanted to build a life. I wasn't just trying to make some money and go back to just open something up there. Now, don't ask me necessarily why. I just felt it. So I kind of had to sell well, let me back it up. In right before, a year prior to me coming with my wife here, I was in a program here for 3 months. It's called Work and Travel. So you come here for 3 months, you kind of travel to US to work. That's kind of where you don't have time to travel.
I was going to wonder, and how you became are you a citizen now?
I just got my fingerprints last week. So going for citizenship in about 2 months from what the notice said. So
okay,
about
great.
5.5 years of residency, and then getting my citizenship in a few months.
Okay, great. Congrats.
Yeah. So with that in mind, so the first 2 years, so I was here 3 months, and then I had to sell this dream to my wife because she had her entire family at home. She didn't speak a single word of English. And I'm like, guess what, babe? You're going to have to move with me across the world. Just have to live there, leave everybody behind in a world that you know nothing about and you don't speak the language.
I've tried to sell my wife on some things, but never anything that hard.
All right. So long story short, we both come. And I have to give this credit to her because she did have a really tough time at first. I didn't speak English either, but I studied in high school, and I knew I knew grammar. Like I could spell words. It's just I couldn't really have a conversation with someone. It only took me about a month and a half to start to really understand the whole concept of like having conversation. And then for the first two years, both of us, we just worked our asses off, again, 7 days a week. And then the reason that I decided that I want to become an entrepreneur is we got married right before we came. And then we had a honeymoon for, I think, 5 days to Dominican Republic. But the problem was during that time, I was always thinking, I'm not working, I'm not getting paid these 5 days. And I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with me? Like, I have to change this mindset. It's wrong. Like, I should be here spending time with my wife and enjoying it. Instead, I'm thinking of being away from work and not making money. Like, it's crazy, right? And that was the first thing. So then I read one or two entrepreneurial books. And I said, all right, I have to kind of look a little bit from a different perspective. So at that point, it was 2 years in. I saved up about $20-something thousand. Worked most of those 2 years doing labor jobs, like everything from moving to some light construction, light repair stuff, and then also driving some trucks. So the first thing that I did was, all right, I know how to drive a truck. I know how to carry things. Let me just buy a truck. So a buddy of mine joined. Literally out of the $22K, spent about $20K to buy a truck. And then start going for contracts, meaning I started knocking at doors, asking some big stores if they need help with transporting different equipment. So that's kind of how I got started into my entrepreneurial work. So that business slowly grew to 6 and then 7 figures. Now, a year later, when the business was pretty successful, actually, both me and my wife got a letter in the mail saying, you have to leave the country because our immigration status required every 6 months an extension. For some weird reason, the third extension came declined, and we had to leave the country in like 48 hours in order to not become illegal. And I'm like, what do you want? Like, like I have three years of life. Like I have a business now. A lot of things. So no, we had to leave. So what happened was I was out of the country. Both of us, we were out of the country for about 8 months. So during that time, the company grew significantly, like it almost doubled. How? I was living on US time, taking sales calls on the phone, and my buddy that was here was able to manage operations. What happened was, because I was outside of the country, I was able to see the big picture. So that's when I really bought every course of marketing, lead gen, ads, sales that I could, to understand what happens outside of the business instead of me being physically there. So it was a bad situation, but I had to find a way to turn it into something good, because otherwise I would have pretty much lost everything.
That's fascinating how that came together. Like, it could have been a total, I don't know.
Yeah, total
disaster, like, in some ways, but somehow you worked it to your favor. Did y'all go back to Romania?
We go every year.
Did you for that 8-month period? Did you go back to Romania?
I was in Romania living on US time pretty much. I was waking up at 2-3 a.m. in the morning, and then working until 7-8 p.m. here, where it was so I was going to bed at 3 a.m. and then waking up on US time.
Now and I'm sure you're probably going to get to this, but like, are you like, do you believe in the American dream? Like, are the opportunities that you've had, that you've created, I don't think they just got given to you, you've created them, but are the opportunities here just that much greater than they are there?
I mean, just what I was able, now again, like you just said, nothing necessarily was given, because I landed with $400 or $500 in my pocket. Both
right.
my wife, we had to borrow money to pay, like but the opportunity, that kind of opportunity that I had, one, none of us spoke English, at least not to the level to have a conversation, and to be able to get a job. Yes, it was a hard couple of years of hard work, but it was possible in ways that I feel, even in my home country, maybe with twice the amount of time, I would have not been able to do that. I didn't have necessarily a skill set. Like, again, I worked labor jobs to save up $20K. It might not sound in theory now when I talk about like marketing, selling campaigns and things like that. Like, you might think, or people might think, oh, $20K is not that much. Trust me, when you land with $300-400 in a pocket, $20K, it's a lot of money to put into something, to start something. Like, you don't even know, hey, do you even have the option to get it back if something fails? No. But the American dream, in my opinion, it's 100% here, and it's possible regardless of your background, regardless what you look like, and regardless of your skill set. Now, yes, you have to work hard on improving that skill set, because I could have worked hard. Trust me, when we talk about hard work, like working 7 days a week, 13, 14-hour days, 13, 14-hour hours every single day, doesn't matter if I would have worked 23 hours, I could have probably made a few extra $100. So hard work is not everything. You have to really work on improving the skill set and the value that you can bring on the marketplace to be able to advance in the, on the next level of what you want to achieve. But to everyone that says, yes, US has gone through some tough times lately. However, I still believe to this day, you can achieve, and regardless where you're coming from, you can achieve whatever you want to achieve as long as you put your mind into it and you're willing to work for it.
Yeah. So we transitioned all of those skills you taught yourself into the marketing machine that eventually became the personal branding ninja.
Yeah, you're talking about my Instagram account.
Oh,
it's funny how that name came up. One, I searched for the personal branding username. Obviously, that was not available.
Yeah.
I tried to buy it. The guy didn't want to sell it. Anyway, and then the ninja came with the fact that I'm practicing jiu-jitsu, and one guy saw a couple of stories of mine, and we were actually at the gym, and then he saw the stories of me doing marketing, and he was like, "What? So now you're a marketing ninja?" And I'm like, "Oh crap! I didn't even realize about marketing because of the gi that I was wearing. It was a black gi at the gym." So I'm like, damn, maybe I'm not a marketing ninja, but personal branding ninja doesn't sound too bad. And he was like, "Oh, what's personal branding?" And then I started to talk about this, and then that's how that username actually came up. And I even bought the domain personalbrandingninja.com.
Hey, There you go. How much did you have to pay for the personalbrandingninja.com? Can you divulge that? Was it expensive?
Like $5.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant like someone owned it already.
No.
Okay.
But what's funny is the reason that I said, all right, the reason that I broke my account, my main account, my personal name, Marian Esanu, into this was, I also invest in real estate, Airbnb stuff. Like we buy, we renovate, and then we put them on Airbnb, keep them 2-3 years, and then we sell it. And then also some self-storage stuff. There are some things in there that I cannot talk blended with, I shouldn't say cannot. It's not a good idea to try to go so broad, because people that are trying to build their business by using marketing techniques, they're not necessarily yet at the level of wanting to learn about real estate investing or things like that. So it would have gone, my content strategy would have gone too crazy. So I said, all right, I'm going to break it down. I hired an Instagram coach, and then kind of we went to, all right, we have two options. We either break down the other stuff that I want to talk about, like business acquisition, real estate, things like that, and then keep that for marketing, or the other way around. And I said, all right, let me just do this, because personal branding is more, it's really more of my passion, and it's a kind of sub niche of it. But hear me out. I'm going to prove that I can build a personal brand account without having necessarily my name. Yes, it's my face attached to it.
Personal branding ninja. I know. I kind of want to see this. I was wondering. I wanted to get to this. I'm glad you went there. I'm like, are you going to build? How's he going to do this? Because I couldn't find your name. Like when we first hooked up, like I had to find your name, and then we DM'd, and it kind of worked itself out. But I'm like, this is interesting.
So that account, it's, yes, all the content, it's about personal branding and how people can, and the pros and cons of personal branding, things like that. But it's going to be its own asset, and I'm going to prove that I can build a personal brand account as a sellable asset. So by the time that the strategy is complete, I'm going to be able to sell Personal Branding Ninja as a full-blown brand, having courses attached to it, having consulting attached to it, having everything. And other people will be able to run it. Now is just the beginning of it. I'm going to refer back to this podcast episode. This is the first time that I actually shared that.
I like it. We'll cut it up, and we'll do an episode 12 months from now and do a follow-up to see where we're at with the Ninja account. So let's talk. Let's give, we've had some good background. Let's give what's in the playbook. What's in the personal branding playbook for you? Maybe for listeners that heard me talk about it, I've had a few other people on that promote it, but what's kind of like in your go-to playbook for building your personal brand?
For my own, or for what
just
I do
in general, for how you talk to people? Like, give me some some of the
sure.
I'll use an American football terminology, the blocking and the tackling, like you got to have it, Yeah,
100%. So the first thing that I always, and I talk about this almost every day in my IG content and YouTube and stuff, the most important thing that people should not, this is one of the biggest mistakes that people do, is they try to start a personal brand from scratch without researching. My thing is always, don't try to reinvent the wheel. Now, I'm not saying to copy anyone, but I'm talking, don't try, doesn't matter the topics that you're trying to talk about. I guarantee, we are in 2022, everything is online already. You'll find information about the topics that you want to talk about on every platform. So at first, the most important thing, in my opinion, should be, let's look at 5 direct competitors and 5 indirect competitors. Now, 5 direct competitors could, I'll take myself as an example, right? When I started kind of doing my research for myself. Look at 5 direct competitors, but direct competitors could also be people that are way bigger that you're trying to compare yourself with. So, if I think about personal branding space, I can think about Gary Vee, Lewis House, Brendan Bouchard, Grant Cardone. Even though he's known as the sales and the real estate guy, he talks about this a lot.
Yep.
And a lot of other people, Frank Kern, even though he's more like the direct response, but these 5 have such a unique approach, even though they all cover marketing and personal branding to an extent. They have a unique approach to it. So that's the first thing that we'll have to understand. They have a unique approach, even though they all cover, like they all have their own kind of little thing that they started with. And if we look at the content that they create today, they didn't start creating it, 5, 10, 20 years ago when they started their brands. So that's what a lot of people don't realize is they try to mimic what these big brands are doing. But then when you actually look at the audience size that they have, these people can actually post a blank or a full-blown black picture, and they'll get likes and comments on it. When, when you're just starting out, you don't have that luxury. Yeah. And even to that extent, you look at people like, let's say you look at Gary Vee and you see that he has an audience of 10 million people, and then you're trying to do some research on the reels that he's posting, and then you see reels that have 100 to 300,000 views. You think, oh, that's a crazy successful reel. If you ask one of his team members, they'll say, that's a really poor performing because the audience is 10 million and the reels only have 100,000 views. I mean, in their scenario, that reel is a poor performing piece of content.
Yep.
So that's number one. Number two is you have to also pick 5 indirect competitors and 5 competitors that are really closer in size of the audience that you have. So if I'm just starting out, like now, I just started this personal branding ninja account, right? Like I have like 200 followers now. So I look at accounts that are 1,000, 5,000, 10,000, like much closer in audience size, and see what content it's actually performing for them. When I say performing is the amount of views have to have at least 2 to 3 times the size of the audience. So if the guy has 1,000 followers, I look at reels that are 3,000 plus views. And then you also look at the amount of comments, because we all know like engagement can be, especially likes and views can also be bought and things like that. So you have to be paying attention to those things as well. But content research is one of the most important things. Now, the platform that I like to do the research is also TikTok. Even though we're talking about Instagram at first, the reason that I like TikTok is you can actually add the filter. So you type in, let's say, in my case, personal branding hashtag. So I look at the filter, personal branding hashtag. I type that hashtag, and then I select the filter. I want to see content using this hashtag that has been the most liked within the last 3 to 6 months. So what that's going to show me is the content that actually people liked, not what the creator liked. And then I start to go down that rabbit hole and understand what people actually liked and what they engage with and why. And then what's also important about TikTok, they added this SEO feature in the last couple of months, and you can see the exact key phrases that people search for using that hashtag. So now you're going to see, other key phrases that people search for, personal branding tips. Yeah, exactly. The long, like you see the exact things that people search for, not just the hashtags, right? And then you take that hashtag, and then now you go to Instagram and you search for the hashtag, and then you look at the most recent and the most engaged on the homepage using that hashtag, and you can even follow hashtags on Instagram. And then you start going inside of these accounts, and you see what kind of questions people ask in the comments. Now, yes, this is a tedious process because you have to understand what people are actually engaging with, not what the creator, because sometimes the content that I like to create is different than what my audience wants to see. But even to that extent, you should find the sweet spot in between, because if something doesn't feel authentic, you should not try to force it, because people will realize, like, for example, I'm not necessarily a guy that jokes come easily. Like I'll never try to fake a joke in my content, because it's just not my way of doing it. Like if me and you have a beer and we talk about stuff, like you realize like I don't bring up a lot of funny jokes because it's just not natural to me. So I try to relay that in my content, and some people will like it and some people will like, oh, but I wish more jokes would be in the content. That's cool. I wish too, but I'm not the type of person to do it. So I'm not trying to fake it. I'm not trying to force it.
You'll bring a comedian on to do it for you.
Exactly. So maybe I'll interview somebody that's funnier than me. Maybe I'll do a collaboration with someone that's funnier than me, but I'm not trying to fake something that I'm not. Then next, so this is the organic side of things. So you'll see, a lot of different trends in this process. You'll see what people, kind of pointing on the screen to adding a bunch of different text. Some of them are cool. Some of them are pretty good for the brand that you're trying to create. Like, for example, recently, like 2 days ago, one of my wife's videos got like 3 million views.
Wow.
But it was a remix of a video, and it was more of a gross type of topic, and like somebody's eye was like really like looking bad, and then it was an infection, things like that.
Oh, not a crazy eye. It was like a crazy eye looking the wrong way or something.
Yeah, it was.
She was trying to put the eyelashes on, and he had a crazy eye, like looking at her.
Exactly. Yeah. So the video brought a lot of followers, but virality of these videos, that's not necessarily a topic that you can or your audience would benefit if you create every day.
Yeah.
Yes, one of those videos, it's cool from from time to time to kind of add a little bit of the negativity and positivity at the same time. Negativity, not from a negative way, almost from a bad situation type of thing into your content. So,
but if it goes viral and you get a bunch of followers that really aren't interested in your core topic, then it hadn't done you any good.
Exactly. So in her case was good because people. So the topic was an infection of an eye. So it was on a beauty account. But imagine having a video like that going viral on my account or your account, or because you're trying to relate it back to your industry. It would be weird.
Yeah, like damn. I'm just trying to get some personal brand
probably
people.
Wouldn't even post. But yeah, but some of the trends, you might feel how you can actually relate them back to your industry. So an example that I can give was I saw a video of a chick that was running. So the caption and the headline said something like, when one of my friends says to me, "Let's meet up for a drink," and she was running with a bottle of wine, pouring wine. So the video got like 60 million views. So what I did is I recreated that trend, and I said something when my clients are saying, "I can only create a reel if we can have a drink before." And then I was doing the wine being poured in the glass. So, that's one example that you can, if it's something that you feel, hey, this type of joke, it's not to the level that you would not create. Like I could see myself saying something like that. You can try to mimic it back to your industry if it feels right for you. So that's the whole thing. Like you have to make sure that you do it right. So this is the organic part, right? And a lot of people stop there. My strategy is I look at it from a business standpoint, and I'm like, all right, now let's go to facebook.com/ads/library, and let's look at those competitors and see what they sell. And that's the part where a lot of people don't even bother going because they think, oh, I'm building my personal brand. I don't want to spend money on ads. Well, you look at it the wrong way, because if you are able to figure out a way to actually be profitable at the same time, you're going to want to invest as much as possible. That's why a lot of people, they only think of themselves as the content creator without thinking, oh, I can monetize this even from the get-go, because if you use paid ads, regardless if you have 0 followers, you can actually push your content in front of such a bigger audience. And as long as you create an authentic product, and the product can be literally, this can be one-on-one access to you, this can be group coaching, this would be all kinds of like online courses or even products like physical products. You can actually expedite that process of getting a really targeted audience, because again, going viral, it's cool. You cannot control who sees that. If your audience in US, but your video goes viral in India and Mongolia and other countries that maybe your audience is not necessarily the people that would buy the product. Now, it's nothing wrong with a lot of eyeballs on the video, but if the audience is not targeted, moving forward, if you're only getting views, but you're not able to convert them into sales, what's the purpose of that time being spent on just, creating content every day without doing anything with it?
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're in this game for like way longer than I was.
But you've learned a lot, my young Jedi.
But
I didn't even train. You trained
to,
yourself. You're the ninja that trained himself. You know.
But the reason that I love paid traffic so much is you can tell the platform exactly who you want to attract and who you want your content to be seen. So, in my opinion, that's really where people should not stop. That's where people should actually start going even deeper, even if it's just from a research standpoint. So everybody can go to facebook.com/ads/library and type in the actual direct competitor or indirect competitor, and then look at what ads they're creating. Look at especially for how long they've been running those ads, because if they've been pumping money for the last 3 months on the same piece of content, that means
it's working.
That money, exactly, like a big brand, or not necessarily a big brand, but a personal brand, one of your direct competitors or indirect competitors, if they're spending for money on an ad for the last 3 months, it means it brings them a positive ROI. It means that whatever they sell, and you can literally click on that learn more button or swipe up or whatever it is, and look at what's the message on the sales page. Look at what's the message in the funnel. Now, again, I want to make sure people understand, I'm not talking about copying anything. You shouldn't, and you shouldn't really copy what they say. You should get inspired, and you should look at the products that they're selling. And if that person is selling a product that you know you can make it better, well, that's your niche. That's your product right there.
Yeah.
So I feel like a lot of people kind of either stop when it comes to paid traffic, especially when it comes to their personal brand, or they just don't think of it to the long-term aspect of being a business and not just being the content creator of things.
I think it goes back to that keyword of brand, and brand being, in this instance, what I'm talking about is like the business. When you think about yourself, even if, again, you're not building the business around you, but you're trying to promote yourself, organic reach is just so minimal now. Like the social media networks, I mean, TikTok, yeah, you can still get some, but it's at the right audience. But like, you have to pay to get amplified, to get more people to see who you are and to see these messages. And you could be the most interesting person on earth. You could be the prettiest person on earth. And just growing organically with the audience that you want to build a business around is truly the slow boat to China from South Carolina.
And it's so true. And also another thing that people don't realize is they can use these two, organic and paid, together. If you have a couple of videos that have performed, and you know that there are the videos that are the right videos to be shown to a much bigger audience, is just for whatever reason the algorithm didn't recognize that.
Yep.
Those are the videos that you can start pushing. Like, you just put a couple $100 behind one piece of content. If it's proven that it already worked with an organic audience, just show it to more people, and have a simple call to action, like a DM me, and that's even going to bring you a much better reach, because now Instagram, for example, they see the fact that, hey, this person is paying to get people to stay more on the platform, because now you start a conversation with them in DM. Once you start engaging with them in the DM, you're going to see their content, they're going to see yours. So it starts a whole different snowball effect of more interactions. And as long as your content relates to the audience, of course they're going to engage more. Yeah. So it's such a great way of kind of combining these two worlds, because I feel like there are two separate worlds, like the organic and then the paid.
Yep. So most people you work with, they come to you, and are they trying to sell a book? Are they trying to sell courses? Like, you help them kind of build out a full funnel around their personal brand, as well as like coaching them on how to build it?
Exactly. We don't do the done for you. For the last probably a year, we stopped offering the whole program of, we're not doing it for people anymore, because we realized a lot of people that we were doing it for, once we stopped helping them with, for whatever reasons, they say, all right, we're good now. Then they started to like kind of really struggle with it. So now we kind of work either with their team, if they're a 2-3 person shop, or we train them. And then we have different ways to kind of work together for a longer period of time if it's recurring for a while. But we don't necessarily do it for them. Like, yes, we hand them a lot of like templates that they can just modify themselves, but we need them to really understand everything that happens behind the scenes. So it's easier for them to just hire a virtual assistant that can do the implementation of the technical stuff, like installing the pixel and copying and pasting that code on a page and things like that. That's all in a gated area in a course. And that stuff is just, all right, you can technically, if you type in on YouTube how to generate your YouTube pixel or your Google pixel or your Facebook pixel or TikTok, whatever, you'll find that out. It's the strategy that really people are lacking. And that's where we really put our work in. And then, of course, we hold their hand, and we even give them access to some of our team members if they need, but not necessarily the full done for you. We stopped doing that about a year ago.
You have your own podcast as well too, right?
Yep, Momentum.
Now, is that a lead feeder or a relationship builder? I mean, how do you use it? Both?
It's both, yes, because it is pretty much the audience are people that are kind of going after the same type of questions and the same type of topics. So it is a lot of, now I interviewed people in various industries and topics, but it kind of all relates back to the main purpose, the whole personal branding aspect of things. And we try every time at the end of an episode to and you'll be on the show, I think next week, if I'm not wrong.
Looking forward to it.
We'll get some secrets out of you as well. But we're doing it in a way that at the end of an episode, we try to give people a short-term goal, something that they can do at the end of the episode, and then a long-term goal for the next 3 months to kind of implement something. So it all relates back to, at some point in time, people would need some type of help from us, going from consuming that content into,
I love it,
needing help.
Man, I feel like we could talk for hours on this. We both obviously live and breathe it and believe in it. Let's tell everybody, Marian, where they can keep up with you. I think we've said it enough. If they're taking any kind of notes, they should know where that is.
100%, man. So the easiest way is whatever the platform that people are consuming this episode, they can just type in Momentum Podcast and my show will pop up, or they can just type in my name, Marian Esanu, MarianEsanu, and then also my show will pop up, and they can consume part two of, not part two of this episode, but the interview with you, which is coming pretty soon, but also other topics and other things that I went in depth about what I just shared on this episode.
That's great. The personal branding ninja.
And if they want to connect with me personally, on Instagram, especially about this topic, I'm at Personal Branding Ninja.
Yes, easy to find.
100%.
I enjoyed it, Marian. Look forward to talking with you on your show.
100%, man. Me too.
Hey, guys, you know where to find us, theradcast.com. Search for Personal Branding Ninja. You'll find all the content from today, highlights from Marian's, and we'll even link to some of the show we'll do on Momentum. You know where to find me. I'm at Ryan Alford on all the platforms. I'm blowing up on TikTok, just like my buddy Marian. We'll see you over there. We'll see you next time on the Radcast.